On the last episode of Yu Hakusho ranking the classes, we learned about the E and D class. But in today's episode, we will be discussing one of the most interesting cases of classes, the C class demons. This episode will be one of the longest ones, so sit back, grab a drink and snack as we dive into an extensive examination of the C class. On the last episode, we've seen some impressive feats, primarily including speed feats from the D-class demons. This was for the general combat speed and hypersonic and small building level. But now, we see a new approach and started primarily from Mei's Castle arc. After Yusuke's training with Genkai, our heroes have amped up their powers immensely. Kurama's fight was against an underling, which still banged him up a bit, but the more impressive showcase is Byakko, a being whose hairs alone can spawn regular beasts who are all fast enough to dodge Kuwabara, and also enough to be classified as D-class, making them above many superhumans they fought pre-Rando arc. Byakko is not only much stronger as a demon overall, but he can shatter molecular bonding with sonic waves, again confirming these are traveling at least the speed of sound. Though fortunately Kuwabara survives this and debows Byakko in the face. Quite an impressive battle to be honest, but it doesn't end there. We actually have a demon far more potent than Byakko. His name is Seiryu, and he's able to fire off attacks that are near absolute zero. Yes, absolute zero. There are demons strong. Okay, we won't spoil the fun. But given these abilities we've already seen, that instead of raw power alone is not only increased, but majority of these demons of the C class carry immense hacks. The fight with Seiryu is important because it showcases Hiei's bloodlust speed. Hiei was able to slash Seiryu to bits 16 times. This is important for Yusuke could only keep up with 8 slashes. According to Kuwabara, it happened faster than his blink. Keep in mind, Kuwabara should be at least low hypersonic, or at the very least supersonic for dodging Byakko's assault. This is consistent because as we pan over to Yusuke vs Suzaku, a being who caught and redirected lightning that has been amplified, which given the temperature of lightning and how projectile-based auras increase the attack potency by 2 times over, we can infer that based on the lightning being 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit normally in the real world, Yusuke is tanking attacks that heat up to 100,000 degrees Fahrenheit, which is quite impressive. It's even more impressive because you can argue Suzaku made the lightning 2 times faster since he redirected the element itself with yokai amplifications, which Yusuke, by the way, can negate. As a minimum, this scales to massively hypersonic speeds for Yusuke, and unlike the anime, not only damaged materia harder than diamond, but his final clash with Suzaku took out this large building. Given the fragmentation of the debris, we can sit between the middle of 2 to 11 tons of TNT, which is the large building attack potency range in calcs, which we can estimate this to be at least 6 tons of TNT, or since it was half and half for both parties, 3 tons of TNT for low C-class Yusuke. Phew, that was quite a bit, but now that we have the base C-class, let's move on over to the next arc. This next arc is not too long, but there are some useful details. Kuwabara and Yusuke announce how they're significantly stronger, Kuwabara using the phrase "gone in level up," indicating a potential 2 times increase, which could be possible given that Toguro doesn't consider his men as that weak. Yet Yusuke and Kuwabara defeated them in seconds, which should at least score them in the lower C-class area. Regardless, what's more impressive is Yusuke and Kuwabara versus suppressed Toguro, whose aura is like being hit by a hurricane. As he's completely blitzed Yusuke and Kuwabara and nearly one-shotted Kuwabara. Oh, and Kuwabara can read memories. Yeah, that's a thing. Nonetheless, Kuwabara and Yusuke defeat the Toguro brothers. Or do they? I'll not spoil the next level demons, but keep in mind Toguro found it difficult to hold back and he was only using 20%, which I'd indicate that Yusuke by this point should be large building level at 6 tons of TNT, being 2 times above his previous fight versus Suzaku in Rage, Kuwabara included, since he could take shots from a suppressed Toguro. Now remember Hiei's speed feat? Yeah, Yusuke after his 2 months of training hit a level so far ahead that while tired he dodged Hiei's assault, implying he's at least 2 times as fast as he was versus Suzaku, which is about massively hypersonic plus. However, we can't really quantify how much stronger Yusuke has gotten. Or can we? According to the captain, the crew barely used 10% of their power, implying that Yusuke, Hiei, Kuwabara, and Kurama should logically be about 10 times stronger. The reason I make this argument is because many of the demons here were not afraid of Yusuke, despite his reputation for beating Suzaku and Rando, nor were they intimidated by his aura as much, which makes sense given the urgency of their training. After all, in a chapter left out of the anime, it's implied Suzaku wasn't much to speak of anyway, which is partially true as we progress further, but let's move on to the next segment, the Dark Tournament. The Dark Tournament shows some promise. Our initial meetups are Rinku and Zero, who were slick enough to slip by Hiei's senses. At this point, we have beings of about 10 times more attack potency than previously, which multiplying Yusuke's 6 tons of TNT by 10 times would place him around 60 tons of TNT or mid-city block level. Now, as for Kuwabara and characters such as Rinku, it's hard to pinpoint, but being at this high ends of the large building level, it's very likely that they can hit these scales included. Now, as for the manga of Hiei vs. Zero, Zero was a huge threat, and he could not beat him without his trump card, implying Zero was also at the multi-city block ranges, since Hiei and Yusuke are oftentimes parallel in strength, though you could argue Zero was actually much stronger as we find out here. Now, as for Chu vs. Yusuke, oh boy, there are some statements being made. This is a bit of a highball, but Chu's kick, according to Kuwabara, is 10,000 times harder than Rinku, who nearly broke Kuwabara's neck. Though it should be noted Kuwabara was off guard and Rinku underestimated him, from what we've examined, it isn't likely a hyperbole. My reason for saying so will occur in the next video, but at best, you can argue Chu's physical attacks are far harder than Rinku, since Rinku is a weapon specialist. Thus, Chu would generate a kick comparable to 10,000 times what Kuwabara felt while off guard, which I'd argue, scaling from Rinku and Kuwabara's durability, should be comparable to the Suzaku and Yusuke final clash, since he's not only 10 times stronger but also tanked hits from Toguro in the previous arc. It's hard to say by how much, but Kuwabara, without being enraged, should be above Mei's Castle arc Yusuke, scaling at least to large building level or 6 tons of TNT, lowball, given he could pierce suppressed Toguro with his sword. Nonetheless, this puts Chu at 60,000 tons of TNT bare minimum, which places him, or his attack potency, at town level. Now that's a lot farther than the building levels you see on the Versus Battle Wikia, trust and believe. However, Yusuke's Spirit Gun is no slouch, and as an upgrade, it increases from the last shot, which is implying it's actually more than 2 times the aura as we see later on in the series. Yusuke's Rapid Fire Double Spirit Gun should logically be 4 times his normal aura, implying he's at least generating 240,000 tons of TNT, or at least large town level in attack potency along with Chu, which we also learned that Yusuke is a Saiyan, as his rage boost his powers as well. But I'll have you know that even a young lady Genkai is able to emit the Spirit Wave, which acts as light. Now the reason I'm mentioning this is because C-class demons are also extremely fast, as well as extremely powerful, and she was heavily suppressed during this arc. Now, as far as speed goes, Yusuke was now able to dodge Hiei while fatigued, but is also implying he's 2 times faster than what he was during the Suzaku arc, and again, being 10 times more potent should land him an argumentation of 20 times faster than Suzaku, placing his speed around 4,800,000 miles per hour, or Mach 6,255.9. Via transitive property, of course, which is massively hypersonic plus, which is on the borderline to sub-relativistic, or 1% the speed of light. But again, keep in mind that this is combat speed alone. There's not much else to discuss as far as a couple extras after the fight with the first crew. What a C-Class is capable of, and as far as we know, Shishi Wakamoto, Suzuki, and many others are very powerful, but they more so used hacks. I believe characters such as Chu, in my opinion, are actually more powerful than characters like Jin, and you'll see why in the next video, or at least around that tier, though you could correct me on that in the comments below. But the upper portions of C-Class are insane, or at least some of the feats. For instance, Kurama tanking attacks from Toya, whose leaps and bounds above Seiryu, who again, as we implied, could use attacks near absolute zero, implying Toya is probably even closer to absolute zero. Hiei using 60 to 70% of his power to deal with a being who's at a high C-Class as well, along with Yusuke even tanking a miniature star inside of his body, which is how he transcends into the next class ahead.
And that's when we'll tackle the B class.
So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next episode. This has been Atari HMB, and I'm signing off. Peace.